We have seen people who were deprived from contesting the elections. We have also seen people who are disenfranchised from voting on election day. We have even seen the government inaugurating people who didn't win elections with evidence to prove against the Electoral Act of Nigeria and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. My fellow distinguished gentlemen of the press, honestly, we are bittered about the style of the democracy of Africa. And we are very, very angry because Nigeria stands a chance to continue to be the lead for the future of Africa. If Nigeria is given the opportunity to succeed, definitely it's a new channel for African success. Africa cannot find its place in the Committee of Nations until Nigeria is politically stabilized. The stabilization of the Nigerian politics must have everything to do with credibility in our elections. It must have everything to do with the integrity of individuals who contest elections. And until the Nigerian people stand up to protect that interest, our democracy will remain where it is, God forbid. I'm not going to be talking too much because I will be giving opportunity to others to speak. We have keynote speakers, we have guest speakers, and we have people who are young people, young persons in the building that will speak truth to our democracy. I beg you, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, if anyone comes to this podium to speak, it means that the person has the integrity and the capacity to speak to the world. And if you are tricked with whatever is said, a round of applause will be accepted and we'll take it off from there. Media. The media is who we are going to speak to, and the media will speak to the world about the stability of the African continent using Nigeria as a case study. So thank you so much. And one of the reasons why we have decided that the younger people speak here first is because the tradition in Nigeria is to invite big people with big pockets to come to events. And immediately they come, you give them the microphone to speak, and after that, you see them going. Oga, you know, go walk. All the big people that are here, we sit down and listen to our youth speak so that they will know what we are talking about, they will hear what we want to do, and they will make response. We are tired of the speeches by older men in our politics. Let them hear us speak and make response.
To discuss democracy and how it affects Africa. Before I will take up my speech, let's ask ourselves, what is democracy? Government of the people, by the people, and for the people. If that is the case, have we really embraced democracy in Africa? Have we really embraced democracy in Nigeria? What are the tendencies? What are those values that we are yet to bring on board to ensure we have full-grown democracy in our country? Let me quickly observe, with the permission of my senior colleagues, that in Nigeria today, I can stand tall to say that we have, for a little while, moved away from dictatorship to democracy. And the only reason why I'll say that is because we conduct election. Don't we? Hello, don't we conduct election? Yes. We do, please. This is an interactive section. We are here to discuss ways forward, how we can better democracy in Nigeria and Africa at large. So I want us to be participatory. It's not just we do come here, talk, and then we don't understand ourselves. I'll be free to communicate to the audience and the press as I continue in my speech. So I was saying, I will really embrace democracy. What are the values of democracy? Let's see to those values. The first value I'll bring on board is, why do even Africa, why do the world, why are people yearning for democracy? People are yearning for democracy. Countries are embracing democracy because it is the only system of government that embraces, that takes care of the people, that have all its effects, its value around the people. What it implies is that there is no democracy without the people. First of all, you have the freedom of association. Secondly, the freedom to join a political party. That is where in the state where it is practiced on a political basis. Secondly, you have the right to socialize. Freedom. Let us take Nigeria as a basic context. We all that are seated here knows the tenets and what it implies to practice a free and fair democracy. The $1 million question here is, have we practiced democracy to the conviction of the values and the tenets of which democracy is enshrined? The answer is no, because in Nigeria, we've not been able to give ourselves the freedom for you to belong to any political party, the freedom for you to belong to institutions, the freedom for political institutions to run very perfectly. We have, for instance, INEC in Nigeria. Let us ask ourselves the truth. Have INEC really stood out strong and firm to be so independent? Have INEC done the right thing for Nigerians? Have INEC placed themselves so high that the value and responsibility bestowed on them are properly managed? The answer is left in your hands. Let us ask ourselves, are people freely, the minimum age to belong to a political party or the ability to franchise have been left within 18 years and above, if I'm not mistaken. So, have we allowed the system to work very well? Can someone or a group of people practically engage themselves in the activities of politics without harassment, without inducement, without humiliation? These are the $1 million questions we're asking ourselves today. The second item I'm going to pick on the quality of democracy is equity. We all know that Nigeria is vast and diverse in nation. We have over 700, I don't know, languages. The landmass is much. About over 150 million Nigerians on earth. Have we been able, for the purpose of good governance, bring ourselves together to say as a country that we must deliver those persons that are credible, that can govern this nation? I can remember in the 60s from history, when the entity Nigeria came to be, 3 very strong men came together to say they have to work for the freedom of Nigeria. And Nigeria in the world is one of the countries that gained our independence without going to war. True or false? True or false? Please let me hear that if I'm not mistaken, so that I won't misinform the public. If that is the case, what are we having today? We've gone from military era down to making democracy work. But have we changed our attitude towards ensuring we have a perfect democracy? Have we changed the institutions from being autocratic, from being dictatorial, to that one that accepts the opinions, views of Nigerians? Have we embraced real democracy in whatever we do? Have we carried along religions? Have we carried along regions, equity in whatever we do? These are the many other questions that is surrounding our democracy today. Have we allowed people to participate? Social values. Democracy strengthens social values. When you practice democracy, because it's a government of the people, by the people and for the people, social life are enhanced. You are free to negotiate powers, you're free to negotiate interests at every level you want to do that, free and fairly. Today, what we have in Nigeria, are we really practicing democracy?
I will speak to the theme, which is democratic stability in Africa, but I'll be very particular to Nigeria. And of course, for the sake of context, I'll be throwing a lot of light on the 2023 general elections, with particular reference to the presidential election. My name is Ukoma Chukwuemekezi Maxwell. popularly called UC Maxwell on, general platform. So let's get into it. Now, the topic is just democratic stability in Nigeria. Now, we've also had in Nigeria, we are in the Fourth Republic, I believe. And since the return to democracy in 1999, we have had several issues to deal with as it relates to having a stable democracy in Nigeria. Nigeria has had several relationships, or our democracy has had several relationships with the military. We've seen the military, overthrow democratic governance, the First Republic, the Second Republic, the Third Republic, and now the Fourth Republic. I am actually hopeful that someday we will not see a military takeover. Because democracy is sweet, democracy ensures a lot of adherence to the provisions of the law. I'll speak to some of the fundamentals of a democratic entity, the fundamentals of a democratic society, one of which includes political tolerance. Then I'll speak to them generally. Another is human rights. We also have free and independent courts. We have strict adherence to the principles of rule of law. We have multi-party system. And finally, there are others, of course, but for those that I will speak to, we have free, fair, and credible election. It is unfortunate that in the African space, in Nigeria, there is no political tolerance. You see that there is a lot of problems between political parties, between people who hold several political views. So if I support party A and you support party B, it means that we cannot have a peaceful interaction. And it is a problem for democracy, which actually goes to the heart of democracy. And when we talk about human rights, by Chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution, which has enshrined several rights that people will enjoy as citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And of course, those are not the only rights. We also know that Nigeria is a signatory to several international documents. We have the Banjul Charter, that is the African, Charter of Human and People's Rights. We also have the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights and several other international documents which guarantee that every individual in Nigeria must have this inalienable right, and they will not be violated either by reason of their race, their status, their age. They said that I was the youngest person here. I've not told you my age. I don't know how Avuti Johnson knew that I was the youngest person here. But, I believe that I should not be discriminated because of my age. And these are rights that are guaranteed in the 1999 Constitution. We talk about free courts, which I'll be laying a lot of emphasis on. If we do not have free and independent courts in a democratic setting in Nigeria, in Africa, then we will only be joking coming out here to talk about democracy. Because that is the only body that can entrench democracy properly. You see, every time that the military take over, there is one body that is usually threatened a lot, which is the courts. Do people get access to the courts? And when they get access to the courts, are they able to get justice from the courts? They say that the courts are the last hope of the common man. It is unfortunate that in the society we live in today, the courts have become the lost hope of the common man. We talk about rule of law and multi-party systems. We saw how people were clandestinely arrested and incarcerated during the presidential elections, during the general elections in 2023, the year we are still in. And of course, the cycle is not yet over. A lot of cases are still before the courts. It's unfortunate that people who have the right to vote can no longer exercise their franchise because of political intimidation and desires to hold on to power in the current world we live in. But there are solutions to these problems in our democracy.
I think I don't have to talk much because a lot have been said. Those who are supporting Nigerians to vote out for change have spoken, and those who don't want us to speak have also spoken. I appreciate all of you. You know, if you see a family where the parents don't want the children to talk, they only want to destroy the future of their children. Because if you want to build the future of your children, as a father, you must listen to them. Even though they are speaking rubbish, listen to them and correct their mistakes. Let them be children so that you can be a parent. The politicians must be politicians, true politicians, by listening to the citizens so that they will correct the mistake of the citizens or adhere to the wants of the citizens. And that is why I want to believe that for us to have a sustainable democracy or stable democracy, we must do one thing. What is that? The citizens must take ownership. I hope you get my point. The citizens must take ownership of three things. One, the country. The country belongs to the citizens, not just some criminals or some other cycle or bunch of unpatriotic citizens. Secondly, the citizens must take ownership of the democracy. What we are having today is government of some people, by some people, against the generality of the people. That is what we are seeing today, and we can't afford to continue like this. We must have a true democracy. And a true democracy does not end with the electoral process. And that is the third thing that the citizens must take ownership of: good governance. We must ask for good governance by determining how our budget is spent. We can't allow some people to sit down in the National Assembly and start buying cars for themselves and forgetting the masses. We can't allow this country to continue by destroying our economy. Ask anybody who don't want us to say no to what is happening, or who is claiming that we have the best democracy in Africa or in the world. Ask him, what is the essence of democracy? Is it to have some part of the country in hands of bandits? Is it to have a naira that cannot stand for the use of the country? Is it that a country that cannot give its people power supply? Is this the dividend of democracy? People are dying day in, day out. Are you aware that in some part of this country, citizens of Nigeria are taxing other citizens of Nigeria? Are you aware of that? And that is the best democracy you think we have? A democracy that you cannot travel from Abuja to Kaduna, even in government's own train, it will be destroyed and no one will be arrested. How many children are there in the bush at the mercy of the bandits? And you are here to tell us that we have the best democracy. What kind of democracy is this? Agree with the title of this book, Nigeria Beyond 2023 Elections. And I want every one of you to make sure that you have this in your library, but don't just keep it on the shelf. Try and read it word by word and make a decision.
Wish to support the initiator of this book, Nigeria Beyond 2023 Election. My name was mentioned in this book, so I am proud to be part of this project. Nigeria, you don't need to be one for you to succeed. For me to succeed, I need criticism, and that is the truth.
3 general elections, if there is anything that will give me joy, is the fact that all the activities of the 2023 general elections is documented. I am also working on that. Everything I did in the courts and all, I am putting them out on the website. And this is already a book that is talking about the election. So I urge everyone to pick up this book and also have a glance, take a read. You can buy it when it is out there on sale, and make sure that the future generation know the fights that we put in to see Nigeria stable in terms of democracy.
What is the Nigerian Beyond 2023 general election? Working towards a greater nation. Our nation must be great. It must be great. Thank you so much. Thank you. I urge you to launch this book. Go make it